Radio Rahim with Teddy Atlas. We are at our second home, Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And it's been a long week, man. It's Friday. We came with the promise of the greatest card anyone's ever
I
seen.
think it's still a great card. I mean, I think, the replacements haven't been bad. And in some ways, the Bakole replacement is just as dangerous, maybe more dangerous in some ways. I don't know what kind of condition Bakole's in, but let me tell you, he's a dangerous, dangerous guy. He reminded me of George Foreman, the way he destroyed Anderson in that fight, his last fight. But what everyone's going to look at the side, and I get it. It's people think that way. It's the conventional way of thinking that the advantage is to Parker, who's been in camp for the duration. He had full time to get ready for the fight. He's in top shape, obviously, mentally and physically. That the advantage is all his. But you got to remember, while he was in camp for those 2 months or whatever it is, he was preparing for one specific style, Dubois. Now, in 48 hours, he's fighting a whole different style. So that is a detriment. That is a negative. That can be dangerous. That suddenly everyone says, "Oh no, he's got the big advantage." Again, I'm repeating myself. He's got the big advantage because he had a full camp. Yeah, but he had a full camp getting ready for that style, and now he's fighting a whole different style, and that's a problem. And that can be a problem, especially when the guy can punch. Look, I don't know what kind of condition Bakole's in, but I'll tell you one thing. Even if he's not in top condition, I know one thing: he could still freaking punch, and that makes it even more interesting. What do you mean, Ted? How's that making more? Well, because he'll come out there like a man on fire the first couple rounds, knowing he's got to get it over with, and that can be exciting, that can be electric, and that can be dangerous for Parker. So I think they did a pretty good job, reaching out and getting a dangerous guy, and I give credit to Parker, because from what I was told, Parker asked for that, because he wanted to fight. He was getting ready to fight for the world title. He was ready. He wanted to fight somebody that he thought would test him in that way, that would make him feel like, yeah, I'm world title. I am world title, worthy. By fighting that guy.
I just spoke to Frank Warren, and he confirmed that it is in fact true that Joseph Parker called for Bakole as his opponent. It was his first choice, and they made it happen. And when I said that we were here, promised the greatest card we've ever seen, and then with the two new opponents who no one was expecting when we landed in Saudi, it's an opportunity for this card to not only be the greatest card we've ever seen, but a shocker for one of these two guys. I would say it's still a shocker for Bakole, even though if you had made this fight on the card originally, at best it's 50-50. A lot of people would give it the advantage to Bakole, but because of the disadvantage of a 2-day notice, he's going to be flying all night. He's not even going to get here, I think, until 3 a.m. Who knows what shape he's in, because he wasn't in camp.
Look where he's flying
The
from.
Congo, which means that either guy, Padley or Bakole, could come and just shake up everything last minute.
Yeah, so
if you're training one of those guys, how do you get them ready in 2-3 days for a fight in a card this magnitude?
You're ready already. Stop. Come on, don't ask silly questions. I mean, you're a pro. You're part of. Look, if you ask me the definition, I don't need to go to Webster's dictionary to get the definition of a fighter. The definition of a fighter, my friend, is the ability to overcome. Go overcome. Okay, go behave like a fighter. Come on, stop it. Go behave like a fighter. You're getting paid very well. You're a pro. This is what you do. You overcome. How did you get here? I overcame. Yeah, you overcame. Go overcome again. Go overcome a different opponent, please. Well, what are we going to be, crybabies? We're going to be weak people? No, we're strong. We're an example to other people out there that we are the strongest of the strong. We are fighters. We overcome. And go overcome. Go find that way. And that's what you do. Obviously, the trainer will have to do what I just did. He has to do
I'm
that.
ready to fight now. I think that was the speech.
He has to do that, and also, you look at a little film. You say, "Here, okay, look, we can look at this, we can look at that," but you remind the guy you have fought all kinds of styles to get here. You've already done, and you have fought on quick notice. Bring back the memory. You have fought on quick notice. I guarantee you, but through your career of 5 years, 6 years, with Parker, it's a lot longer. You've done this before. You have been in situations where you have fought on short notice. It's happened before. Just remind yourself. Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah, I know it was X amount of years ago, but you have. Come on, let's go do it. I mean, I put you in the gym with different sparring partners that were good, that were top-level sparring partners. Did you have time to get ready for... No, I didn't, Teddy. All right, so okay, you're right. I'm sorry. Okay, let's go. Let's go. And that's what you do. Look, what to your point, you have an opportunity to have a real live Rocky moment, where from the Rocky movie, where out of nowhere a guy can win the title unexpectedly because he was put in on short notice, and then you can make a little argument for both guys. We just made an argument for the fans why this fight didn't drop off a lot with Bakole because of his power, because of what he did his last fight, because of the danger. You can make an argument a little less, but for Padley, he's coming off a big upset. He's coming off where he beat an undefeated fighter, where he was a huge underdog, and he pulled it off. Yeah, I know he only has 4 knockouts. He's fighting a guy who's a great boxer, who's not a real big puncher either, but who's a great boxer, and it's a high level, which Shakur Stevenson is. But still, you have an undefeated guy who hasn't learned how to lose yet. And I'm repeating it, that he's coming off having beaten an undefeated fighter where the bookmakers gave him no chance. So there's something, if I was in his camp, I could give him a fire speech too. Mm-hmm. I could give him say, hey, what did you do your last fight? I beat an undefeated guy. What is this guy? He's undefeated. What are you favored in this fight? No, I'm a big dog. Were you a favorite in the last? No, I was a big dog. Oh, okay, do it again.
For Shakur's sake, and Parker, really, they're both considered technical fighters, maybe even Shakur more than Parker. You know that he's expecting Schofield. No matter what he says, he's looked at him. He's looked at the weaknesses. He's got a game plan.
You could overlook a guy.
But so with Padley coming in, I guarantee you he's not on Shakur's radar. He's not thinking about that guy. This guy is coming in just fresh out of nowhere. Is there a danger that you've prepared for this one style? You've got these kind of things in your mind that you want to do, and then this wild card comes in and you don't know what he's going to do. How do you prepare the other side of the card?
Yeah, well, listen. Again, I thought I said it before, but the conventional way of thinking is like I'll go with Bakole and then I'll go back to Shakur and Padley, and both of them are really the same. Where it's so easy to say, oh yeah, the advantage, is for the guy who had a full camp, 2 months, whatever. He had a full camp, but he had a full camp getting ready for a specific style. So maybe the advantage now is actually for the guy who's coming in on short notice. He didn't prepare for any style. He's just going to do his thing. And if it's good enough, it's good enough. But he's not locked in. He's not locked in to any specifics over 2 months of training that has been drilled into his memory, his muscle memory. So in some ways, maybe that. And I'll tell you another thing. When you're getting ready for a big fight, I know these guys experienced, but when you're getting ready for a big fight, there's pressure, because sometimes people don't know, the public don't understand what a fighter's going through. He's not sleeping right. He's thinking about the fight. It's getting closer and closer. You got a guy on 48 hours long. He didn't have any of that pressure. He wasn't losing sleep. He wasn't, he wasn't being worn down by the pressure and the worrying about the fighter getting closer and closer. It wasn't happening until the last minute. So in some ways, he finds a way to escape that. Yeah, he gets a jail out of free card where he just catapults past that. He doesn't have to deal with that. And that can be a plus because that can wear you out, the pressure of being prepared for a fight, 2 months in camp. You're thinking about it.
Fight week, all the interviews, all the demands.
Yeah, all that. The other guy avoided all that. So in some ways, you got to remember, you got to make an adjustment in your thinking that from the conventional thinking and saying, oh, no, the guy in camp had all the advantage. No. The guy coming in late, in some ways, avoid certain things that might give him an advantage. To your question, to the direct answer to your question, yeah, Shakur, if we're going to use him as an example, prepared for a certain style. And now, obviously, he's fighting Padley, a different style. A guy who likes a pot shot, a guy who moves a little bit, and then pop, hit pot shot, then he'll move, he'll jump in a little bit. Do that guy. But you got to remember, Shakur was a silver medalist. Shakur was fighting different styles every day of the tournament. When you fight in the Olympics, you're fighting all week long. Every day you're fighting a different style. You didn't have no time to prepare for that style. Okay, today you're fighting a Cuban. All right, you get past the Cuban. All right, tomorrow you're fighting a Russian. You get back. Okay, now you're fighting a German. Now, again, he's been in tournaments his whole life. He was a top amateur fighter. He was fighting top amateur fights in tournaments every other day, fighting a different style. So that's not going to bother us, Shakur Stevenson. And he's a cerebral guy anyway. He's got that cerebral style. He's got that, he's got that radar vision where he sees everything, and he's a reactive fighter. You reach, pop, he counters. So just put a guy in front of him, I'll react to what I have to react to, because he is an instinctive fighter. He is that kind of fighter that I don't think this will throw him off or will bother him the way it might bother a different style guy.
Parker is absolutely a warrior and the kind of fighter you want to see for calling out Bakole.
Yeah.
No question about that. Is
it
it the smart thing to do? Which sometimes the warrior thing and the smart thing are not the same thing.
Yeah, listen, I came from a mentor who was the smartest man, I thought, but I'm biased, Customano, and from a different era. And he brought me up in a way where he thought like the old timers, obviously, where every once in a while you have to protect your fighter from himself, because he's such a fighter. You work to get that mentality. You pray. You hope that he has that fighter's warrior's mentality, that he doesn't care who he's fighting. Just tell me when. Just tell me when, coach. I'm ready to go. I don't care who. Nowadays you get some guys who say, what's his reach? What's his, what's his waist level? What's his waist size? What's his coat size? They want to know everything. Is he allergic to nuts? Is he? I mean, they want to know everything before they take the fight. You want a guy with the mentality that he believes that he's a fighter. He'll fight who you tell him to fight. But those guys, true, they do have to. You want that attitude, but that's where it's up to the managers to earn their living and to protect those guys from themselves. But this is a little different here. I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong. It can be dangerous with that attitude to call out a guy like this, but it's consistent with who Joe Parker is. He has to be consistent with who he is, because it ain't just about this fight. It's about, he still wants to fight for the world title. He's still going to fight other fights. It's about having a certain mentality, a certain belief in yourself, a certain attitude that is going to carry beyond this fight. You can't take that attitude out of him, because then he's not Joe Parker. You want him to have that attitude. Yeah, I want this guy. Why do you want him? I want him because he's a test, because he's a threat. And I was fighting a guy who was a test, who was a threat, and I was going to beat that guy. So why would I take anything less? Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. This is what you want. A guy. You don't want all of a sudden a guy that's going to be slicker and stinking and saying, well, we can avoid that. We can be a little cuter with that. No, you should be that way as a manager. But you want the fighter to have that attitude. And in this case, I think the manager's doing the right thing. I don't think he's being reckless or careless. I mean, if he gets knocked out, people's going to say he was. But no, that could have happened with Dubois. I think he is understanding that he can't go away from what the fighter wants, because then he will take away from what the fighter is, from what he has to be. You don't have the same fighter no more. You don't want to do damage to him in that way. You have to understand that most people, layman people, they're not making a living in this business. They wouldn't understand that, the depth of that. Hopefully this helps them understand that. That would be part of the decision making, where a lot of people might think it's reckless, but it's not reckless. It's what it needs to be. And again, Joe Parker is in belief of himself. He was just going to get in there with a very dangerous guy. In his mind, he was going to win the heavyweight title. Why does he want to step down? In his mind, his next fight's for the heavyweight title when Dubois gets better. Well, why? Well, I'm gonna go and pick a soft touch now and go an easier way. Why would I do that? No, I want to show myself that I am the guy that's gonna beat them.
what does this do to Dubois' mentality? With everything that you just said, he's on a roll. He's just got as much confidence as he's ever had. He's the world champion. There's no question that he was ready and willing for this fight. So whatever happened, which was, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but Frank just told me it was a viral infection. He's been going downhill. Hopefully he has a speedy recovery. He's got medicine, so that's looking good. He's a young man. However, mentally, having gotten this close to a fight, that mentally prepared, that physically prepared. Now, all the money that you spent on camp, all the time, all the energy, all the focus is out the window. You got to reset. What does that do to a young fighter like him in a position that he's in now?
This ain't a young fighter anymore. Yeah, I know he's 26, 27. This is a guy that has reached the mountaintop. Now, I don't mean just by getting a belt. I don't give a damn about these belts. What the freak, they're belts, they're pieces of metal. No. I'm talking about within himself. This is a guy who redeemed himself. This is a guy who came back from a lost place. This is a guy who found out what his worth is, that he could depend on himself, that he could like himself, he could love himself, he could feel proud of himself. This is a guy who did something that fighters weren't supposed to do. Really. In a Joyce fight, I know he had a broken orbital, but still, he broke down mentally, he gave in. In the Usyk fight, I know there was controversy with the low blow and all that stuff, but still, at the end of the day, he gave in. He made a decision not to go on. You're not supposed to do that as a fighter. When you do that as a fighter, right away you're supposed to be marked as a guy. Yeah, he'll never make it, because he's not tough enough mentally. He don't have the heart. He don't have that. And then what does he do? He comes back. He comes back in the Miller fight, the Herjavec fight, and he goes through fire. He comes back for what? For what? For a win? For a purse? It wasn't for a purse. It wasn't for an L or a W. No. It was about the right to look in the freaking mirror every day and like what was looking back at him. That's what he was fighting for redemption, to feel good about himself the rest of his life, to put his pants on in the morning, put his shirt on, and go outside and walk in the public with his head up and feel the way a man should feel. That's what that was about. I guarantee you that for those fights, he would have fought for nothing. Yeah, I say it again. You think I'm going nuts, and no, this is water. It ain't nothing else. I'm telling you what I believe, and what I believe I know, that he would have fought for nothing, because it was for these things. It was the redemption of the soul. It was for him, and there was only one way to get his soul back, was to go through the fire, to test himself, to prove himself. He would have done it. He would have done it for free, just to get that. What is the worth of that? What is the price of that? So this is a guy who has gotten to that place. You think a flu's going to stop that guy now? After what I just said? you think a virus is going to stop that guy? No. He's going to get rid of it. He's going to have the medicine to get rid of it. He's going to get healthy again, and he's going to be right back, going forward in the way that he believes he's supposed to, following his journey, his destiny, because he believes now, it was part of my journey, it was part of my destiny. Yeah, I was supposed to be down. I was supposed to be down so I could get up. I was supposed to be down so I could find myself. I was supposed to be lost so I could get found.
There are two men in very different stages of their career right now who are sitting ringside on Saturday night, who are waiting for the outcome of what was meant to be Parker Dubois. Now Parker Bakole. No idea what Dubois holds for the future in regards to these two men. One of them is Anthony Joshua. Obviously, he's coming off a loss to Dubois, criticism for not taking the rematch immediately, although he did have an injury. And he'd beaten Parker, and most of the pundits say that Bakole beats him. Usyk, undisputed heavyweight champion. Obviously, he had to relinquish the IBF title. He wants that undisputed moniker back, but the world is his oyster. He can pick and choose whatever he wants to do. How do you think this change affects both men?
I don't think it affects them at all. I don't see any effect to them.
I mean, they're options, right? Does Joshua wait now for Bakole Parker?
It always was an option. Yeah. It was always an option. When you can fill Wembley Stadium, my friend, you have an option. You have power. You have what do they call that out in the world, in the business world? Leverage. You have
Uh,
leverage, right?
yeah.
I mean, when you can put 98,000 people in the stadium in Wembley and probably 60,000 fighting the doorman at the King's Arms because the fans are so great. The fans are so great across. They are. They got to be the greatest. I'm taking nothing away from the Mexican, the Irish, the Puerto Rican, the Filipino, the American, But I'm telling you, the English fans, they come out. They're passionate. They have a long history with the sport. They're very loyal to their fighters. You put the fight on, they're going to come out. And I, when you have the ability to draw that kind of, the power to draw those kind of crowds, you're always gonna have options. People are still gonna want you. I mean, he just got knocked out. Fury just lost two in a row. Yet they still want that fight. They still want that fight because the fans. First of all, it's their fight. It's the fight for the pride of London, of England, I should say. It's their fight. So they're still going to come out. No, they probably lose 10 fights in a row, and the people would still come out because of what I'm describing here. So those look. To me, I'm looking for the options as a trainer, as an advisor. If they get, they'd be well served to obviously be advised. That's why the people are with you, the manager, the trainer, to advise you, to keep emotion out of it. And I'm advising a guy more on styles, on what style I think fits at this point for Joshua to come back. I think he deserves, if he wants to come back, that's up to him. But he deserves, I think, something maybe a little easier than a Dubois rematch. Let him have one fight to kind of get rid of the cobwebs, if you will. Get the bats out of the belfry. There are bats in the belfry, there are ghosts floating around there that have to be exercised. One way in my sport to exercise them is to give a guy that one fight. That confidence builder, that one comeback, just to let him know that he's okay. That you're still okay. You still can do this. You're right, and then go for one of those decisions that are tough.
Okay, so let's say we get whomever that might be, right? This confidence builder, this fight happens, and now, for the sake of discussion, what is Joshua's road to redemption? I'm giving 3 options now, right? It's Dubois rematch. Let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, that Bakole comes through on Saturday night. It's Bakole, who everybody, especially if you win Saturday night, is going to think is the big monster and the boogeyman in the heavyweight division. Or it's Fury for the pride of England. You as the advisor, you as the trainer, where does Joshua go for redemption?
For those 3 fights, Bakole,
Dubois, or Fury?
Go for the gusto. Go for Fury. Really. Go for the biggest, and not just the money. People say, Teddy, I thought it wasn't always about money. I'm not saying this is just about money. It's huge. We know that, but he's made plenty of money. But it's about redemption. It's about getting, it's about pride. And also the pride where you live in your country. What better to jump back, really, to get a quick start, boom, a jump right back to it, than fighting another beloved fighter who is an icon in your country, than to fight Fury. And a guy who's also damaged to a certain extent, coming off 2 losses, psychologically a little damaged, physically left a little bit something, with all the fights he's had and the tough fights he's had, a little something in the ring. And look, Fury's great. He's tremendous. You got to give him credit for what he's overcome in his life. And you give Joshua credit for coming back, from obviously a devastating loss, in a way that he lost. So, what again? For me, I think it's only one option if you can do it. Yeah, people say, but Teddy, what happened to your theory about, having that confidence build? Well, my man over here, the great manager, he didn't give me that option. He said, out of those guys, I don't want to fight Bakole. He can punch like hell, my chin's still a little bit sore from being in there with another guy who can punch like hell. And I'm not going to get as much pop out of it anyway with that, but the danger is there. The other guy is who? It's
Dubois.
Dubois. I mean, you just did that, right? I think for that, in my mind, I would say, no, that one I would want the confidence builder first. So which one would I take that's out of those significant fights, and there's risk in them all, that makes the most sense for the right reasons? It's the guy I just said. It's got to be Fury. I can't see anyone else. It has to be Fury, because you're doing it, and I know there's no titles, but you're doing it for all the enchiladas, if you will, because I want to show you Mexican fans, I'm not leaving you out. I love you guys, and I respect you guys, but it's again, it's for everything that's important in both their lives. The pride of their country, a big fight, a fight that gives them a level of redemption, and it satisfies the fans at the same times. The fans, your fans, they would love it. They've been waiting for that fight anyway, and the playing field is even on both sides. Where again, you got Fury, who's coming off losses, so he's been dented, and you got Joshua, obviously, who needs to be in there with a guy who at least has been damaged a little bit like him, to even the playing field a little bit. It makes all the sense in the world.
Lastly, Teddy, when I talk to my good friends Spencer Oliver and Johnny Nelson, they both think, and I may agree, that these class of heavyweights probably have a year left before we see the end of Joshua. If Fury remains retired, that's going to be it. If he stays out another year, that's it. Usyk probably hangs him up. So if you're predicting, just looking at that next field, who do you think is the next heavyweight king?
Well, Moses, how do you pronounce? Atamu comes to mind. I mean, he looks terrific. He's got an amateur pedigree. He's young. Oh God, he's so young. He's young. He's only going to get better, and he's got something that, I always say, you can't really, you can improve it, but you can't teach it. It's punches are not made; they're born. He has that wonderful gift. That the old timers would say to me, he can hit you on top of the head and fracture your ankles. You know what? If you have that gift, that ain't bad. That's a pretty good gift. And he knows how to fight to go with that. He has a delivery system. He has technique, to carry those talents, to use those talents in appropriate ways. He's impressed me. He hasn't stepped up to that next level yet, but he fought a veteran guy in his last fight. He's impressed me in the way he's gotten rid of these guys. Not just that he got rid of them. I expect him to get rid of them, but the way he did it. He showed me so many different facets. He showed me the ability with his feet to close a gap quick. I said, wow, I didn't know his feet were that quick. He showed me the ability to think in there, to have good eyes, good vision, to go low and then come high. That he's setting things up. He's not just winging stuff. So I think that he comes to mind. And there's the kid. I want to make sure I get his name. American kid. He was on the Olympic team. I think he won a silver medal. I think Top Rank has him. Torres. Am I saying? I know he's a Spanish kid. Am I saying his name right? He's undefeated. I think he was a silver medalist. Short guy. Short heavyweight.
Maybe let's go with Torres.
Yeah, let's go. But
whoever we're talking about, I'll put it up in post.
Yeah.
What about this
Listen, guy? No. He's a silver medalist. He has the pedigree again, just like Moses. He has the pedigree. He has, he's fought all the top guys in amateurs. He's a very aggressive guy. Short, stocky, heavyweight, fun to watch. He's a guy who will. Obviously, he's been handled well by Top Rank. They've been protecting him, bringing him along. It's getting close to that time to step up, just like it is for Moses, step up to that next level. He'll be one of those, he'll be one of those guys that you'll be looking and say, is he the guy? Is he the next guy? And then there's another guy that's undefeated. I think he's about 14-0. I just watched him recently. I can't think of his name. I
mean, you're going deep into the well. Guys who are 14 and 0.
No, but those are the guys. Those are the guys that are the next guys. Yeah. Those are the right answers.
But the Kings, you think I'm just saying your ability to spot talent that early that could run the whole division.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, but that is kind of my business. You know what I mean. I'm not selling Italian.
What I do. You understand? It's what I do.
Well, I don't talk that way, but you do. But I'm not selling Italian ice. You know, if I don't know who makes sense out there to be a candidate to be the next top fighter, then I should be doing something else. If I can't recognize those things, Customato would be very, very upset at me, very disappointed. 50 years in the business, I think that I should be able to notice some of that stuff a little bit. But the younger guys, the guys that are coming from the big amateur careers, those are the guys. And like I said, I love this kid from England, Moses. Yeah. You know, and I think I said it already, but at the risk of repeating myself, I'll say it one more time. It's not just his physical ability, but it's the way he's doing it. You know, that he's had good teachers around him, that he's technically solid.
Not only would Customato be proud of you, I think everyone that has come through that corner of yours, everyone who's seen you working, the new generation, these young crop of fighters, they go back and study those tapes of those fighters that you've trained. And I sit here still mining the wisdom. So, my friend, you have carried that legacy well on your shoulders. I think there is no greater deep well of knowledge that I could resource than Teddy Atlas, which is why I always make a point to sit with you. So thank you again for the time. Congratulations on carrying that Customato legacy forward and giving these young kids some tape to study on how to be great. Radio Rahim with Teddy Atlas.